Gentlemen, today I have an absolute banger for you. If you have been here before, you know what's coming. Today is episode 2 or day 2 of the deer hunting masterclass. Today we are talking about 2 things to kind of build off of last week. What we're going to be going over is sight and sound. How to make sure when you're in the woods you are not seen or heard by deer. I'm pairing these two together because unlike scent, they are definitely not as important. Scent was covered in episode 1. Go check it out if you haven't. I think that was one of my best YouTube videos and I really hit the nail on the head when it comes to what you need to worry about. But today we're going to talk about those two to make sure that you never get busted again while you're out in the woods. Alright, let's get it. Alright, point 1, the first thing we're going to talk about is sound. I think sound is probably the least important out of the 3, so that's why we're going to start with it because it's probably the shortest point. So sound is pretty simple. Don't make loud sounds. Now, deer do have better ears than we do, but they're not like the best ears in the world. Like if you have a deer stand, for example, and you're climbing up there, your bow or your rifle's clanking against the stand, your boots are hitting it, your backpack straps are hitting it, loud, sharp sounds like that, those are going to catch deer's attention from, possibly 100 yards away. Whereas if you climb up there, you make sure nothing hits, you just get in the stand, you're going to be okay. Make sure your stand doesn't creak. A lot of those older deer stands creak a lot when you put weight on them, especially when it's cold outside. Another thing to consider is walking out to the stand. Now, for example, here, let me find one. That sound is like poison to a deer's ears. They hear that and they're gone. They're going to run away. You're not going to see them. You need to be careful when you're walking in. I'll put a video on screen. I'll do a demonstration. A way you can walk out is you don't want to stomp around, like you would regularly. You want to start with your heel and you want to kind of roll your foot forward as you're walking. That'll help to minimize the noise you make while you're walking out. Because if you're hunting in an area where the deer are within, I would say 100 yards, you got to be worried about sound. But if you're hunting in an area where deer are farther out than 100 yards, you're probably going to be fine. You still don't want to be running through the woods, but sound isn't going to be a big deal. As long as you're not hitting things and you're just quiet with your movements, if you're drawing back a bow or getting your stand, you're going to be fine. If you're careful when you walk out, you do all those things, sound should never be an issue for you. I don't know that I've ever been busted by a deer through sound because sound is pretty simple. It's pretty easy to manage regardless of your situation. Now we're going to get into sight. So I would say sight is right underneath smell in terms of importance, but a lot of people overcomplicate it. So if you've been in the hunting world before, or even if you're just in an outdoors community, you will see people wearing all kinds of expensive, crazy shit. For example, Sitka. I'm kind of a Sitka hater. Do I think Sitka gear is bad? No, it's warm, it looks good, I think it's fine. The problem I have is then people think they need to spend hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on a couple sets of clothes to go hunting a couple times a year. And that is just not the case. I have never spent more than $100 on my hunting clothes, and it doesn't make a difference. I hunt with buddies who wear all the expensive stuff, and we shoot the same deer. Sometimes I maybe even shoot more. It's not really a big deal. Camo patterns and the expensive crap doesn't really matter. What do matters are as follows. Deer are colorblind. Their sight is not good. Their sight is like way worse than ours. So when you're thinking about sight like that, you can't think of sight through the lens of your eyes. We can see really well. For example, if you're hunting in a tree stand, if I look up in a tree and there's someone hunting in a tree stand, orange or not, I'm going to know they're there. I'm going to be able to see. Like, we can see that well. Deer cannot. Deer don't see detail like we do. What deer see are a couple things. The first is movement. When there are deer in front of you, you have to be as still as possible. You cannot move a muscle. Deer pick up on movement very well. If you don't move, chances are you're not going to be seen. So if you are like drawing a bow or raising your rifle, you need to wait till those deer are not looking at you to do that, because if you draw your bow, jerky movements, you do that, they're going to catch you, they're going to then see your outline. So if you have to raise your bow and they won't not look from you, you got to do it really slow. Another tactic that I've never personally tried but I've heard great success with is if a deer does kind of seem to maybe see up in the tree, something you can do is you can start to sway like I am right now. You can kind of sway like a tree. No jerky movements like this, but kind of just swaying. So that can work really well for some people. I've never tried it. I mean, if a deer, based on how I hunt, if a deer sees me, they're probably really close to me, like within 15, 20 yards, and I'm probably done. But that's kind of how it goes. So deer see shadows really well, so like lights and darks. So when you're hunting, you kind of want to tuck yourself away in the shadows. You don't want to be in the contrast. Like if you, for example, my scenario right here. You see that tree back there? Let's see, yeah, right there. You see that tree back there? I would kind of want to tuck myself in there, maybe a little bit behind the tree if I was hunting on the ground. I kind of want to like blend into the rain. I don't want to be in front of the tree where my outline is visible, because deer see outline extremely well. It's another thing. Deer don't necessarily recognize detail. What they do recognize is outlines. The human shape is very distinct to deer, and if they see your human outline, they are going to get the hell out of there. So you need to break up your outline with cover. Like, for example, if I take this tree, if I'm standing in front of you, like, you can see my outline, whereas if I were to do this or I'd have a couple branches, it helps break up my outline so deer don't see me. You want something in between you and the deer where you plan on them coming. When it comes to camo and color patterns, I know we touched on this briefly, but it's definitely not as complicated as people think. You can go to Walmart and get you a set of Walmart camo. You can get snow pants, a coat for the cold weather. You can get camo t-shirts. That is going to be enough. You are going to be fine. The big things are like the outline and the movement. Now, there are a couple things I would personally avoid. So the two colors deer see very well are yellows and blues. So that's why you'll see people out in the woods during rifle season. Most places you're legally required to wear an orange article of clothing. Deer don't see orange. Orange, that bright blaze orange, that looks like green to deer. There's a great video on YouTube about what deer actually see, and they compiled some studies, and they actually broke down how deer see. They have like a camera filter. It's very cool. I recommend you check it out. It's not by me, it's by someone else. But anyways, deer don't see orange. That's why you're legally required to wear orange or blaze pink. Deer don't see blaze pink. They see it as like a green or brown. Bright yellows and blues, though, they do. So if you're going hunting and you have your blue jeans on, which you can't see, but I have on right now, that's not going to work. I have seen people have success while wearing blue jeans, but I personally have never had it, and I do think deer pick up on the blue very well. So you need to make sure you avoid, the bright blues, the dark blues, and the yellows. Those are the two colors deer see. You could go out there with complete blaze orange, and as long as your outline's broke up, you're not moving, you're probably going to be fine. But it's also about breaking up contrast. If you have one color, that's why camo patterns don't really matter. It's just the camo itself and like the outline and breaking it up that matters. If you wear, like, if I have this black t-shirt on right here, if I have black pants, black face mask, black gloves, and just black, right? Well, you got to be careful with that. You don't want to go one solid color. That's why camo is camo. It breaks up your pattern, makes you look more like the leaves we see right here. The woods, nothing is one straight color. There's lots of unique shapes. There's lots of unique sizes, lots of unique colors. That's kind of what you want to do. The actual camo pattern doesn't matter. I mean, like flannels. Like this, you could wear this out in the woods, no problem. This would work just as good as something like Sitka would. It's about breaking up your shape. That really matters when it comes to deer hunting. And, I mean, we can get into the specifics, but if you're actually just going rifle hunting, this stuff doesn't matter as much, especially if you hunt somewhere like around here. Like a lot of people around here, they have like these big house blinds that are heated. I don't do any of that, but some people do, so I mean they're mostly covered anyways. But those are the big things. You got to watch like loud sounds that would alert you. Think about a deer in the woods. Deer don't usually break sticks. Deer don't usually bang metal together, bang plastic together, so watch for those things. Sight. If you stand perfectly still and your outline's broken up, you're probably not. You're probably going to be fine. That's why people do tree stands as well, to get above the deer's sight line. Because think about it. A deer, I'm 5'8", and a deer's probably, the top of their head, if they're looking up straight's probably like right around my belly button to a little bit higher. Like deer are not very tall, so that's why people do tree stands. One for the scent, which I covered in last week's video, but also for the sight, because deer 100% do not have great sight, and it's the movement and the patterns that really matter. So like I will show you my hunting clothes really quick. Like this pair of pants right here, this pair of pants is really big on me. I don't know why they're so big, but you know, we talked about smoke cover in the last video. They still got that smell of smoke, but it's just this. These are simple Walmart camo patterns. I hunt in kind of a pine forest usually, so I mean, there's some pine patterns on here. I also hunt with these, and it doesn't really matter. The specifics don't matter. And I have a vest, which is kind of buried away. You know, that one's more for warmth than it is for camo because it gets pretty cold out here. But that's kind of what it is. It doesn't matter. We're going to talk about gear in the videos to come, but it doesn't matter. People make it a big thing. You know, I think a set of Sitka gear is like, you know, like a full, like, one set for like cold weather or something. I think it can be over $1,000. That is ridiculous. You don't even need to spend a fifth of that. Like, you can get away with your full set of hunting clothes for probably around $100. That price might be a little bit outdated, but somewhere around there. It won't be too much more than that for an entire set of hunting clothes that are just going to last you probably a decade plus. Like, it's not that crazy. People spend way too much money, and again, we're going to talk about that in the episodes to come with gear, you know, with your rifle, your bow, your tree stands, your hunting clothes, your hunting accessories, your knives, all these things. People spend far too much money on them, but I'm also going to talk about what things you want to spend money on and what things you can get away with cheaping out, because sometimes, yeah, you want nice stuff. Like, I'll give you a little sneak peek. For example, you want a nice knife, because if you do get a deer down, you want one that stays sharp so you can be quick, you don't hurt yourself, good cuts. You do not want to cheap out on the knife. I've learned that one the hard way. But camo, you don't need to spend $600, $1,000 on camo. That's ridiculous. You can get away with like $100. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. Be watching for episode 3. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. It's probably going to be gear or strategies, one of the two. I haven't quite decided what I'll release for episode 3. But be on the lookout, because I think it's going to be about 5 episodes, maybe more, that I'm going to cover the entirety, all the basics of deer hunting, so that after you watch this series, you can get out in the store, buy your stuff, find out what you want to get, and then you can get out in the woods and try your hand at hunting. That's the whole reason I'm doing this, to try and help everybody I can get into what I think is one of the greatest things that we as people can do. All right, with that being said, thank you guys for sticking around to the end. After this kind of the hunting stuff is over, let me know what you guys want to see. I'm pretty much open for anything. Fitness stuff will probably be coming more toward the end of the year, as I'm working on that right now, and I think that'll be fun, kind of working on some things behind the scenes. I think some more outdoor stuff to come. Ice fishing season will be here in a couple months. Absolutely live for that around here, so just let me know what you want to see, and I'll keep doing it. All right, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.